Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see how to enforce or default the valid grades of the job in worker assignment page. Jobs and grades are very widely used and familiar object in workforce structure. In other words, we hardly maintain a person record without a job and grade. In general, jobs and grades are very closely tied in nature. In Oracle Cloud HCM, we have an option to assign one or more than one grade with the job using the functionality called valid grades. Let's assume we have configured a job with a valid grade or valid grades. It does not mean that the grade field in the worker assignment page populates only the valid grades based on the job selected. It will still allow us to access and select any other grade that meets the reference dataset criteria. This is almost the same case in Oracle EBS as well, but what makes the cloud stand out here is that the option to enforce or default the valid grade using some profile options. The enforcement of valid grades means that once it is enabled, we will be able to access only the valid grades for the job selected in the worker assignment page. When one can decide to enforce the valid grades of the job in worker assignment page? The answer is when we have a specific grades that are only valid for the specific jobs in such a way that we can do a proper mapping between those. And we have a requirement to limit only the valid grades for the job in the worker assignment page. We can enable this by setting up the per enforce valid grades profile option value as Y. The default value of this profile option would be N. When the value is set to N, no matter whether we have valid grades set for the job or not, we will be able to access all the grades. The other feature we have around this topic is to default the valid grade automatically as soon as the job is selected. This is definitely a cool feature, but when we can decide to use this? The answer is when we have one-to-one mapping between job and grade. And we have the requirement to default the valid grade of the job in worker assignment page automatically as soon as the job is selected. We can enable this by setting up the per default grade from job position profile option value as Y. The default value for this profile option would be N. When the value is set as N, valid grades won't default in once the job is selected, even though we have a one-to-one mapping between job and grade. Now we are moving towards the second part of the video, which is activity. Whatever we have seen in the last couple of slides, we are going to do that in the system. We have a couple of activities here. Activity number 1 is to enforce the valid grades, and activity number 2 is to default the valid grade. If you look at the job in activity number 1, this job has got couple of valid grades. This job along with the valid grade is already configured and made available in the system for demonstration purpose. And we are going to set this profile option value as Y. After that, we are going to test the behavior in the worker assignment page. The expected behavior is as soon as this job is selected, we should be able to access only these two valid grades in the grade field. Similarly, for activity number 2, we have this job already configured in the system. This job has got only one valid grade, and we are going to set this profile option value as Y. After that, we are going to test the expected behavior in worker assignment page. The expected behavior is as soon as this job is selected in the job field, we will not even move the cursor towards the grade field. The expectation is the grade has to populate automatically. Now we have logged into cloud application. Earlier I mentioned that the jobs that we are going to use for this activity is already made available in the system. So before we start the activity, we will go and check the job configuration and how the valid grades are assigned to the jobs. To do that, click on My Client Groups and click on Workforce Structures. And click on Manage Jobs. I have given the code that starts with EE for both the jobs. The job named EE HCM Functional Consultant has got two valid grades. We are going to use this job to enforce the valid grades in the worker assignment page. And the job named EE HCM Solution Architect has got only one valid grade. And we are going to use this job to test defaulting the grade as soon as the job is selected. Now let's check the valid grades for these jobs. Click on the job. Scroll down till the end. So for this job we have F01 and F02, two valid grades. And for EE HCM solution architect, we have only one valid grade, which is F03. At the moment in system, both the profile options value is set as N. That means no enforcement of valid grades or no default N is enabled at the moment. Let us go and check the worker assignment page now to check the default behavior of the grade field. Click on person management. I have the person record available for this exercise. I bring up that employee record. Click on edit and click on correct. Click on OK. Now if you see, we have value only for business unit field. Job is blank and the grade is also blank. Now I am going to bring up the jobs that we are going to use for this exercise. I'm selecting the HCM functional consultant job. Then I click on grade LOV. I click on search. If you look at here, this job has got only two valid grades. Those are F01 and F02, but currently there is no restriction applied at all. We are able to access all the grades. Similarly, I am going to bring up the other job which has got only one valid grade. I have selected the job. If you see here, the grade did not default in. This is what the default behavior of the grade field. Now we are going to do the first activity to enforce the valid grades. Click on setup and maintenance. Click on search here. Search for manage administrator profile values. I have selected per enforce valid grades profile option here. The default value set currently is N. I am changing it to S, that is Y. Click on save and close. Now let's go and check if the valid grade restriction is applied in the worker assignment page. I bring up the same employee record. Click on edit, click on update, click on OK. Now I am going to bring up the EE HCM functional consultant job. I click on grade list of values, click on search here, click on advanced. This is the wildcard search criteria. If you see here, we have only F01, F02, which is the valid grades of this particular job. We can also check the other job which has got only one valid grade. Ideally, in the list of values, we should not be having any other grades except that particular one. If you see here, this job has got only one valid grade, which is F03. That's what we have it in the search result as well. What we have done just now is a straightforward testing. Shall we also do a tricky testing here? I am just cancelling this job and I am selecting some other grade. I am selecting admin 05, which is definitely not a valid grade of the jobs that we have seen here. Okay, I am selecting one of our job. Yes, I am still able to see the job. I am selecting that. As soon as I selected the job, if you see here, the grade is removed automatically. Now it is very clear that in any case, it is not allowing us to select any other grades other than the valid grades when the enforcement is on. Now we are going to do the next activity to default the valid grade in grade field as soon as the job is selected. I click on setup and maintenance. Click on the search here and search for manage administrator profile values. I brought up the profile option named per default grade from job position. If you look at here, the default value is set as N. I'm going to change this as Y and click on save button. Here we need to make a note of other important thing. Setting up this profile option alone is not sufficient to enable this feature. We need to make sure along with this profile option, the other profile option named per enforce valid grade is also set to Y. So it is important for us to set up both of these profile option value as Y to default the valid grade as soon as the job is selected. Now I am going to bring up HCM solution architect job here. We know this job has got only one valid grade, which is F03. I'm selecting this job here and I'm clicking just outside. If you see, as soon as I selected this job, the grade F3 is automatically populated here. Now we have successfully completed both activities. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.